Welcome to the Mental Health Book Club podcast with your hosts, Sydney Timmins and the Secret Psychiatrist. We would like to take this opportunity to let you know that we will be covering a diverse range of mental health topics that may be distressing to some listeners. You can find a full list of the topics being covered in our show notes. Please check the show notes before listening to any of our episodes.
So I was going to talk about drugs. So, I mean, not going into the political issue of cannabis that can help with physical health, but with mental health, drugs are never helpful and actually can increase your chance of having further comorbid mental health issues as well as a criminal background. So really be careful. Plus, it's really expensive, drugs are. And instead of spending your money on drugs, spend it on something else that's much more worthwhile for you. Oh, chocolate. That's my biggest nemesis. No, that's my biggest nemesis, chocolate, actually. Just looks at me and I melt, quite literally.
Exactly, and you've got to go, oh no, it just jumped into my mouth. Oh,
and I've swallowed it.
Yeah. Oh.
It's in my stomach. It's all gone. Yeah. So drugs can increase your risk of relapsing as well in mental health. And again, it can also increase how much medication you need to take. And it also the medication might not work. It's sort of the polar opposite. So if you're taking the drug, you're going to likely relapse, and then the medication's not going to work, or you might stop taking your medication, stop going to your appointments, and really neglect your health, actually. So nothing ever positive comes from drug use at all. And smoking, I want to put in there. Smoking, I mean, I don't think there's anything good about smoking. I mean, I wish I could say there was something good about it, but actually it is so bad for you in all different aspects. And your health, obviously, we all know about lung cancer and the chest problems, but also with mental health as well. That can really impact your heart as well. So there's a lot of cardiovascular risks and blood pressure. And if you're on clozapine, which is a medication you can take in mental health, that really affects the metabolism. So you end up taking much more clozapine than you need to, which isn't great in itself because that comes with side effects. Because medications, whatever you take, there's always some risk of some sort of side effects. So please don't smoke if you can avoid it. And if you're relapsing, your risk of going back to smoking can increase as well. So you need to keep an eye on that. Have a crisis plan or have a management plan if you're going to relapse with your triggers and what to do with that as well. Sleeping. So sleeping regularly. I mean, these are basic things, but so important, especially in mental health and bipolar. So we spoke about before about mania. You might not be sleeping as much, or in depression, you might be sleeping too much or not being able to sleep. With anxiety, you might constantly be thinking and not getting your sleep. So you need to look at your sleeping pattern. There are different groups that can help with sleeping as well, and really have a good plan of different routines and healthy sleeping patterns. There's beautiful apps out there that really help as well. So many. I mean, we could go on, like Headspace is really good as well for sleeping. I know somebody that uses it just to fall asleep, and I know they're meant to use it for meditation, but it helps them a lot. But
yeah, I recommended that one for Becky.
Yeah, does she like it?
She does. Yep, she swears by it.
I mean, I like Headspace, and I do it sometimes just to commute to work, so I can just come in with a clear mind, and I really like it. And the guy's voice is so soothing. It's like putting cream on your body. It's so relaxing. I love it. But
I think that's probably a top tip. Find someone's voice that you like to listen to. Because if they irritate you, it's not going to work so well.
And sometimes just, I remember there was someone's voice I really liked. Luckily I was their friend, but I recorded it and I used to just listen to it before bed because it was just so calming.
Excuse me, can I just record
it? Yeah, in a non-odd way. But anyway, obviously not someone you don't know. That would be a bit weird.
A random stranger. I like your voice.
Exactly. So looking at your sleeping routine, making sure you're getting enough sleep. Please don't sleep with your phone. I know we're all culprits of it, but put your phone maybe on sleep mode, flight mode, and putting it outside the room, but loud enough for your alarm to wake you up. And that really is so hygienic for you and your sleeping pattern, because otherwise you're going to be switched on constantly thinking about whatever it is, your emails, your social media, phone calls, texts, etc. I mean, our life is through our phone now, how we contact everybody. So even the internet. So keep that away from your room. The room needs to be a place of rest and just tranquility, making sure there's not a lot around your bed, cleaning around where you are, clean sheets, things like that, getting a nice comfortable pillow. Just looking after it.
Not having a TV.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's another
thing.
And
some people, I mean, this is a personal thing. If you sleep with your pets, if that works for you, fine.
Yeah, I do.
That's why I said it, because I thought, I bet you do.
Yeah, I do, I'm afraid. And she's a pain in the butt.
I bet it affects your sleeping as well.
Yeah. But then it's worse if she's not in the room because they just cry and cry and cry.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's kind of the lesser of two evils.
That's very naughty, but okay.
It is very naughty. I'm hanging my head in shame right now.
So my dog, I know they don't like it, but I've just trained him. And I do feel guilty sometimes. And sometimes I do let him sleep in the same room with me. But sometimes I do just have to shut that door because I think I've got to be a bit selfish. And I feel really mean saying it because their eyes, they just look at you and it's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, don't leave me.
No, don't. The way they make you feel so bad if you do anything. Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. So looking after your sleep, because that's part of your health as well. And if you're in an area where there's just lots of noise anyway, think about earplugs, simple things that are comfortable, and you don't have to put the entire earplug in. You can cut it in half or something, that cotton wool, just things that help you fall asleep and just drift off. And even if some people have a notepad, so if they're feeling quite anxious, they just write everything there. Some people's diary is quite similar to that, and just putting everything sort of on the piece of paper, and then you can just forget about it and go to sleep.
Exactly, and sort it in the morning.
Exactly.
There's a new day.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to the routine, having a routine. So I'm a timetable freak. I absolutely love them.
Which is why you love my spreadsheet.
No, gosh, yeah, I'm always bothering you about the timetable. I love it so much. I'm just one of those people. I love having a schedule. It's so weird, but I love it.
No, I don't think it's weird. I think maybe more people would benefit from some kind of routine and spreadsheet and timetable and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. You then at least know where you're going.
Exactly, and I think the reason I liked it is I really liked, at school you always have a school timetable. So on Monday at this time, this and this. I really liked that, and I worked really well with that. And I know it's a bit harder when you're an adult because things are a bit more all over the place and it's not the same thing every single day. But having a general routine. So for instance, I'll share my routine. I adjust it every now and then. So I've become a bit of a cleaning nut at the moment, which I never used to be. Honestly,
come to my house, please.
No, I used to be absolutely disgusting. Especially, I remember in medical school, I'm ashamed to say I didn't even change my bed sheets for a year. I was so disgusting. I know.
No.
Can you imagine? I'm the polar opposite now. It's just, I don't know how I had friends. I genuinely don't know how I had friends. And I became that weirdo who became really environmental. So I never used to flush the toilet or I was so weird. I was really about the planet and we have to do this. And anyway, I found a beautiful balance now, and I do flush. So it sounds a bit weird now. But anyway, so my routine, completely different now. Don't worry. As a doctor, I'm completely hygienic. So in the morning, I will get up, and what I'll normally do, I quickly just throw some water on my face. Then I'll put the kettle on and I have a glass of hot water every morning. It's become my ritual. So I don't have any coffee or anything. And then I'll just sort the pets out. So I have cats and dog, and I'll just sort them out, make sure they're done, walk the dog, feed the dog, things like that. I always get up a bit sort of an hour earlier than I need to because I just like to have that morning quiet, and I really like to clean. I find it really therapeutic. So I'll end up washing any dishes that need to be washed and just quick laundry load if I need to. Just that kind of hour just to have that cleaning time. I really like it, actually. I don't make it a stressful thing. It's just a few bits here and there, and I'll get my lunch ready and we'll be very calm and nice, and I'll sit with my dog. So that's my routine in the morning, and I'll have another one in the evening. But if you can have a routine, and some people like me like timetables, so I don't tick it off because I do it in my head, but you can have something in front of you. And there's lots of self-help journals as well out there. Some people have a whiteboard or post-it notes, and you just tick off, or however you want to do it, highlight or cross off that you've done certain things, such as shower or brush your teeth, get ready, really simple things, but you can do it. And then one day it can be, I don't know, you meet your friends, something just really creative and different. And that can really help, especially in depression, because if you're doing the basic things that you need to do, that's half the battle. And that's what CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, goes into, is your behavior. So if you do certain things you need to for your behavior, that can really lift up your mood and therefore your cognitive thinking as well. And then the cycle goes on, and then it really helps you and prevents relapses. So I always say routine really helps prevent relapses, actually. And appointments. So go to your appointments, make a note of them, tell someone else that's close to you just to remind you. And be honest. The team are there to help you. They're not there to judge you. They want to be in mental health. They want to be your advocate. So just tell them what's going on. Be honest, because that's the only way we can help you. And unfortunately, we're not mind readers. I mean, we can analyze you, but end of the day, only you know what you're thinking. And so go to your blood test, go to your health checkups, go to your hospital appointments or your GP appointments and your medication appointments, because it's there to help you. And at the end of the day, you've got to live your life and be healthy as well. Now that goes with side effects. So I think there's quite a lot of side effects with, especially antipsychotics and things like that. So do tell your team about them. And some people are really embarrassed, and I'm quite bad at this. I don't always ask my patients about sexual health side effects, because it's something that actually I don't even think about, because the usual ones I normally see are sort of movement side effects. But if you're having sexual side effects, and quite a lot of people do, and they just don't talk about it because they're embarrassed, and just talk about it, because it can happen and other people go through it as well. And there are other things that we can do to help you. So whether it's giving you a different medication or changing your medication or adjusting it, because that is a side effect and it's equally important as well. But talk about your side effects, because it's there to help you. And some people, they can have salivary issues that they don't tell us about either. And you don't need to be suffering with side effects. You know, we can't rule out everything and promise that you won't get anything, but we can certainly help. So do let us know, because there's so many different medications and we can tailor it to you. So everyone's different. Now, if you're working, whether it's part-time, full-time, anything like that, if you need extra help at work, get it. So we've spoken before about if you have backache, you might have a different chair at work or adjust your cushion or something. And that's exactly the same if you have mental health. And imagine if you had a wheelchair, you would need a ramp to get up work. So physical health is no different to mental health. So if you have mental health, then you might need adjustments at work as well. And HR are meant to be helping with that, and they will help you with that. So ask for it, because the help is there. And even if you're not working, another reason to get the support you need, because you might need benefits and you might need extra support, or you might need help to get a job. And there's actually workshops to help you with that are all completely free. And I know loads, there's under the NHS, if you type that in, there's so many different groups that help you get a job, part-time job or a flexible job, and help you with your CV and interview skills. There's so much. So look out for that as well, and just ask as well. Acceptance. So that, I mean, it's quite obvious. You need to accept who you are. So I'm a secret psychiatrist, I'm a doctor, but I have dyslexia, and I've accepted that. And I think if you don't accept who you are, and it's not a label, it's who you are, you won't achieve what you want to be. So if I hadn't accepted I have dyslexia, I wouldn't be able to get the help I need and move on with my life. And I think equally with you as well, Sydney.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would agree that if I hadn't accepted it, I wouldn't have sought the help that I needed. And I also wouldn't probably take care of myself as much as I should do. And I do now, if that makes sense, because there are times when I push myself and I know I shouldn't, but I still do it anyway. But then that's a conscious choice rather than just doing it and then going, oh, well, that was silly, which I used to do in the past, is that I'd push too hard. Because I was in denial. Exactly.
And I think once you accept who you are, you know which I think you're getting on, you know your limits. So I certainly know my limits as a doctor. And even with my dyslexia, like, I don't think it's an issue for me now, but that's because I've tailored it so much. I do it automatically without thinking. So for an example, a really simple example, if I write a prescription, I'll read it out loud 3 times and be spelling it out loud. So I don't realize I'm doing it because it's become so normal to me. But then I make sure
make sure that you're doing what you need to do to ensure that it's right.
And also, if you accept who you are, there's so much help available, and so much, I mean, we're quite lucky in that way, especially with health and mental health. There are actually so many support groups and so many facilities and equipment that you can use actually that will help you. Just like if you're deaf, you might need a hearing aid, and it's like that with mental health. There's so much there. You just have to be willing to accept, you know what, I've got mental health and I need to get some help, and that is fine. I mean, we all have something, so it's completely fine. Embrace it. And, you know, like I said, Kanye West, Mariah Carey, they're embracing it. And it might be a reason why certain celebrities like Kanye West have been able to do so many different things, because they've used their mental health as a way of creativity actually in that field. So don't be scared of it. It might help you as well. Support groups, again, like I was saying, there's so many out there, different groups, even locally where you're living. There's so many coffee groups, different workshops, running groups. I mean, you know, running, you don't have to be a runner, but there's lots of other things, acting groups, drama groups, creativity groups. It's amazing what's out there. Also, good friends. Don't spend time with people that make you feel worse about yourself. It sounds really simple, but you need to look at who you're surrounding yourself with. It might be family, it might be friends or colleagues or whatever it is. But if someone is making you feel bad about yourself, picking on you, making you feel negative, don't be around them. It's really simple. Withdraw yourself from them if you are not able to sort of confront the issue. And why you don't need to. Just remove yourself and be around positivity. I think being positive and around positive people is an amazing, amazing talent and skill. And I think works wonders actually on your mindset as well as your physical and mental health. And it's obvious. I mean, why do we watch comedies? Why do we go to comedy shows? Because it makes you feel good about yourself. So be around that as well in your daily life as well. I mean, that's why people have pets, which I'll go on to as well. Pets are really therapeutic and they make you feel good about yourself. I mean, I've got 3. I know you've got 2 wonderful dogs and Becky's got 3 as well, a dog and 2 bunnies. So pets are really great and they're very therapeutic. And that's why in the hospital sometimes you find sometimes people bring dogs on the ward, especially on old age wards or cancer wards or children's ward. They bring animals on to really lift the spirits of people with health problems. And it's the same with mental health as well. And especially with mental health.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I went recently to visit my nan, who is in a care home for dementia, and they had a little sausage dog. And he was so cute. I was like, I'll take him home. But yeah, the residents were able to interact with the sausage dog, which I thought was amazing.
Great. I bet they loved it.
Yeah. Apart from my nan, she doesn't like dogs, but like all the others were like, oh, doggy.
Oh, I love it. No, I love pets. I think they're great. I mean, they really lift up your mood, don't they? And I think especially with mental health, I mean, you see it on the streets as well. A lot of homeless people have dogs. And I think it's that companionship. And, you know, if you have to look after your pet, you'll look after yourself. So it's that sort of taking that responsibility in a way. And I think people really enjoy that. Then looking at the stresses in your life, so triggers, your relapse points, you know, what makes you feel stressed? So what I find stressful might be very different to what you find stressful or anyone listening, equally both ways. What you find stressful, you know, what you don't find stressful, I might find stressful, or the other way or whatever. So look at what it is, whether it's you writing it down, talking through it with somebody, and then looking at if you can avoid it, then obviously do that. That eliminates the issue. But if you can't, what you do to sort of work through it, because sometimes certain stresses can trigger a relapse actually and make you feel worse with your mental health. So looking at what they are and making almost like a care plan. So what to do in that situation and the necessary steps to avoid that if you can. Psychology groups, there's so much out there. I mean, you can get it in books, which we're talking about. There's so many workshops. There's CBT, mindfulness has become so big, meditation, talking therapies, dance therapies. There's so much. So one of my patients is really good at music. So he participates in a sort of community music group and he plays the guitar and he absolutely loves it and it really helps him, which is amazing. And it really helps him prevent his relapses. So look at the different groups out there. There's so many and there's always one for something that you like. So for instance, for me, because I'm a hula hoop fan, I'm sure there's one for hula hooping out there. I mean, I'll find it. And painting that you mentioned, there's a painting group. There's so much as well. Set realistic goals and plans. So don't make a horrendous idea that today I'm going to do this, this and this and this. We're not Supermen and we're not superheroes. So plan your day realistically. Okay. So for instance, it's a Sunday today that we're recording. So realistically, I know on a Sunday, I'm just going to want to stay in bed, realistically, just, you know, do household domestic things. And I'm not going to write a research paper all in a day or something like that. So be realistic. So that's fine. And you'll feel much better when you've conquered it. So I know some students are going through exams at the moment, be realistic, make a plan, be advanced if you can and say, you know, Monday I'm going to do an hour, Tuesday I'm going to do 2 hours, slowly build it up until you get that tolerance. Because the worst thing that you could do is set yourself up for failure because you're not helping yourself at all. There's no point you saying, I'm going to do 10 hours of revision today. I mean, be realistic. That's not going to happen. And then you might just feel more anxious, more low in mood, really stressed out. And that's just put you in a worse position that you were before. And the last thing I want to say is get the help. Like, we keep saying this, but if you need help, get it. Like, we've mentioned this before, but if you had broken your leg, you're going to get the help and get the crutches. Same with mental health. If you need it, get it. Because there's so much out there, endless how much there is actually at your fingertips. And we're so lucky that most of it, you don't have to leave your couch. You can just go online and type it in and the support will be there. So don't be afraid. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all here for you, and we're here if you ever want to talk to us.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd just like to say that someone did get in contact with us, and as a result, we recorded a podcast, which is in the cyclothymia and how to support someone with bipolar disorder. So we try to endeavour to answer your questions, and we also wrote a message back to that person. So hopefully our advice is useful to them.
I'm so glad people are reaching out like this.
Me too. I was kind of like, yay, someone's reaching out. Oh no, you're finding it difficult. But here is my top tips that I can give you. So one thing particularly for me, because I do have borderline personality disorder, if you haven't heard of that before, it is also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, because people feel that BPD or borderline isn't necessarily the best description. But some of the issues with that is that you have unstable emotions, and another thing is that you don't understand who you are as a person. So if someone was to come up to me and go, so tell me about the real Sydney, I would just sit there with a blank stare going, I have no idea what you're talking about. So far at the moment, my main purpose in life is this podcast and doing a bit of writing and also looking after my house. But I don't know if that's really me or really sums up who I am, because it's not really addressing my core values and beliefs, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
So, yeah. Oh, good. So one thing that I have identified recently as a result of spending some time at one of the fantastic bookshops in London, which is called Foyles, I have recently purchased some cards from the School of Life. And I'd like to say this right now, the School of Life have not given us any money whatsoever. This is just something that I've purchased and I'm finding quite useful. And I think I might start blogging about it, because what it is, they're called the Know Yourself cards. And so with those cards, there's 60 different cards, and those cards help you to identify who you really are. Because I don't think it's necessarily something that we readily explore on any kind of basis. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, everyone always says, who are you? Where are you going? What's your role in life? I think that's such a common thought that we all have, but we don't really answer it or unable to.
Exactly. And so they're just something that I wanted to recommend. And I would also recommend checking out their website, which is theschooloflife.com. So the School of Life is a global organisation dedicated to developing emotional intelligence. And so they apply psychology, philosophy and culture to everyday life. And if you sign up to their newsletter, you can get 10% off your first class or order from their online shop. So I would definitely say go for it. And I think if you're trying to maintain your mental health, it's definitely worth a look. And they also have journals and other bits and pieces, which are fab.
It sounds like really great. I think that would go a lot with, lots of people would want to get involved in that kind of thing. Even if you don't have mental health, it sounds really good.
No, I definitely think it is one of those things that I really enjoy. And I also have a blue, one of those bags, because you can't have plastic bags. You have to have your bags for life. But I now have one of their bags that says emotional baggage on it, which is quite cute. I do love my bag. So I actually use that for carrying around my stuff for podcasting. So when I go to Becky, everything goes in the bag, which is quite amusing. So I think, unless you've got anything else, that is everything on self-care.
Amazing. I was thinking, why don't you share 2 of the cards?
Yeah, at random. I have selected 2 cards. Name 3 works of art, music, literature, and visual art or architecture that mean a lot to you. Ooh. Now, in terms of music, I would say, you've got to answer.
I really
as well
like
as me.
This. It's making me think as well. I really like it.
So, It is a cello concerto in E minor, and it is by...
Oh, that sounds really fancy.
Elgar. There we go. It's Elgar's cello concerto in E minor, and I don't think it's very fancy, really. I just think it's one of those... I don't know. We played it at orchestra, and it's just one of those things that I really enjoy and really like. So that's one.
Connected to it.
The second one... Oh, this is going to be music again. This is going to be really sad. Anyway, it's Dvorak's New World Symphony, which you may remember, for those in the UK, the Hovis advert. So that's where that comes from. And also the beginning of the Jaws tune also comes from that. And another thing...
And is this all popping up? Like the first things that pop up in your head? Okay.
Yeah, these are definitely the first things that are popping up in my mind. And then I guess... in terms of literature, I am going to say... I've read so much. This is going to be difficult. I'm probably going to say at this point it is Natasha's book, which is The Beginner's Guide. Yeah. Because I think it's one that's in my head, and it has made me ask myself a lot of questions. So she obviously has all these different sections, and as a result, I've been challenging my own thinking. So I think that's probably going to be something that means quite a lot to me. How about you? So you've got 3 works of art.
So the book, quite honestly, the thing that popped in my head, which I haven't thought about in years, was at school I read this book called Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And for those, I mean, it's been a long time since I read it. I was about 13 years old. But from what I can remember, I think it's set in Mississippi. It's of a black family. And, you know, in that time of the Ku Klux Klan and sort of the race and the stigma towards black individuals with white Americans. And sort of really beautifully, I can't remember the writer's name on top of my head, it's so long ago, but
that's all right, I'll find it and I'll put it in the show
really
notes.
Beautiful captures sort of what's going on in a really digestible form. But what I really connected with was this particular black family they concentrate on. They have objectively, financially, essentially nothing. The children are walking barefoot to school for an hour, but it's their connection and their love for each other that they can quite literally... And so much happens in the book. And it's about this family and how through sort of all this diversity and all the struggles and turmoils, how it's a really beautiful relationship they all have with each other and the strong morals they have and how they could have become certain individuals through all this distress and chaos, but they kept the roots of being a good person. And it's absolutely terrific read. I really recommend it, actually. And music, the first thing that popped in my head was, so when I went to school, I'm not Catholic and I'm not Welsh, but I went to randomly a Catholic Welsh school. And so
that is quite
it was
random.
very random. And we used to sing hymns, and I'm a terrible singer, but I love singing hymns. And we used to sing this one hymn, and I really connected with it. So it popped in my head. I think it's called When I Talk to a Neighbour. It's the hymns that go something like, sorry for the, it doesn't sound great, but when I was cold, I was naked. Were you there? Were you there?
Oh,
it's
yes.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I know that one.
What was the other one? Painting. So what pops in my head, which is, I never thought would pop in my head, the very first sort of painting I saw was a little girl. My uncle brought a copy home, and I think it's called The Scream. It's the man, with his hands on his face. There's lots of different interpretations, so that popped in my head. Maybe it's because it's, I don't know, the first ever sort of copy of a painting I saw, maybe. Oh, I love these questions. I really like this kind of thing. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, cool. On the other side of the card, it also gives you a reason why they've asked that question. So it says, we often love in art what we don't have enough of in our lives. Our taste is an indication of an area of need. For example, we love calm pictures because we are anxious, or carefree music because we feel a bit trapped. Taste tells us not only who we are, but what we want to be more like. Let's hope you don't want to be like Scream.
Maybe it makes sense I'm doing psychiatry then if I thought of that.
Exactly, I was just going to say that it kind of links nicely into psychiatry. Unfortunately, on this episode, we're not going to have time for the second question I have, so I will record it anyway, and then I'll put it into our Patreon episode. So if you are a patron of the MHBC podcast, you will be able to get this extended episode. If you haven't become a patron and wish to do so, head over to patreon.com/MHBC and you can donate as little as $2 a month in supporting the MHBC podcast. and then you will be also able to participate and receive some of the additional benefits that all patrons get. Please don't forget to head over to our social media, so Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and follow and like and all of that kind of stuff, because that really does make a huge difference as well. These are all in the show notes. Don't forget to make sure that you've subscribed to the podcast so that you will never miss an episode. If you have any questions, please get in contact with us. You can do so via email. So our email is hello@mentalhealthbookclub.com, or via social media. Our next book will be A Tiny Piece of Something Greater by Jude Sierra, and the next episode with the Secret Psychiatrist will be about cyclothymia and how to support people living with bipolar disorder. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, it's okay not to be okay, and if you're not okay, talk. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Health Book Club podcast. If you need additional help with your mental health, please contact the Samaritans on 116-123, which is a 24-hour helpline. And if you need additional information about mental health issues, please visit Mind at mind.org.uk. Our next book will be A Tiny Piece of Something Greater by Jude Sierra. Our next episode with the Secret Psychiatrist will be about cyclothymia and how to support people living with bipolar disorder. If you'd like to find out more about the MHBC podcast, please visit our website, mentalhealthbookclub.com. We really hope that you enjoy this podcast, and we would like to hear what you think. Please head over to Twitter and follow us at MHBC_podcast, or head over to Facebook and follow our Facebook page, which is Mental Health Book Club. If you would like to show your support further, please share us with your family and friends, and leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. We are now on Patreon. Please head over to patreon.com/MHBC to donate as little as $2 a month to the Mental Health Book Club podcast. As a result of your donation, you will get early access to some of our episodes. You will get specific episodes that are only for patrons, and you'll be eligible to be entered into free prize draws.